right to repair. Who really owns your devices? Welcome back to the Ethical Tech Explainer. We've all felt that sickening lurch in our stomachs the moment our expensive smartphone slips from our grasp and lands screen down on the concrete. Or the day our trusty laptop, just out of warranty, refuses to hold a charge. The first frustration is the break. The second, and often bigger frustration, is the repair. You bought it, you own it, so you should be able to fix it, right? But as millions have discovered, it's not that simple. Today, we're exploring a growing global battle over the things we own, a movement called the right to repair. So, what's stopping you from getting your device fixed easily and affordably? For years, manufacturers have systematically made it harder for anyone but themselves to perform repairs. They use a whole toolbox of tactics. Physically, they use proprietary screws that require special tools. They glue components together instead of using clips or standard fasteners, and they solder parts like RAM and storage directly to the mainboard, making simple upgrades impossible. But the most powerful barrier today is software. The latest tactic is a practice called parts pairing. This is where a manufacturer uses software to link a specific component, like a screen, a battery, or a camera, to a device's unique serial number. If you replace that screen with an identical, genuine one from another phone, the device's software can reject it. You might lose key functionality, like Face ID on an iPhone, or get persistent, annoying warning messages telling you the part isn't genuine, even if it is. This forces consumers back to the manufacturer's authorized and often far more expensive repair centers. So why do companies do this? If you ask them, they'll give you a few key reasons. The first is safety. They argue that modern devices, especially with powerful lithium-ion batteries, can be dangerous if handled improperly by untrained technicians, creating a risk of fire or injury. The second argument is security and quality. They claim that allowing third-party repairs could introduce vulnerabilities, compromising user data, and that non-official parts might be of lower quality, degrading the user experience and damaging the brand's reputation. A third, more underlying reason is the protection of their intellectual property. They've invested billions in research and development and don't want their proprietary technology or trade secrets to be easily accessible to competitors or independent shops. A representative for a major tech company might say, "We have a responsibility to ensure our products work safely and securely, and the only way to guarantee that is through our authorized service network." The right to repair movement argues that these justifications don't hold up to scrutiny. Advocates, from independent repair shop owners to environmental groups, say the real motivation is profit, to maintain a monopoly on the lucrative repair market, and ultimately to sell more new devices. The ethical and environmental consequences of this model are staggering. First, it undermines the very concept of ownership. If you can't fix what you buy, do you truly own it, or are you just licensing it? Second, it's devastating for small businesses, the local independent repair shops that can't compete when they're locked out of accessing spare parts, manuals, and diagnostic tools. And most critically, it's an environmental disaster. The UN's Global E-Waste Monitor reports that a record 62 million tons of e-waste was generated in 2022, and that number is rising fast. When a simple battery replacement costs a third of the price of a new phone, most people are pushed to just throw the old one away. This creates mountains of toxic electronic waste, while simultaneously requiring the resource-intensive mining of precious minerals to build new devices. The right to repair is a cornerstone of the circular economy, a system where we keep products and materials in use for as long as possible. But the tide is turning. Spurred on by consumer frustration, lawmakers around the world are taking action. In the past few years, states across the U.S. like New York, California, and Colorado have passed right-to-repair laws, and in 2024, the European Union passed a landmark right-to-repair directive that will require manufacturers to offer repairs beyond their legal warranty period and ensure parts and manuals are available for up to a decade. Even companies are starting to shift, at least publicly. Apple, once a major opponent, now supports federal legislation in the U.S. and has started its own self-repair programs, though critics argue these are often still too expensive and complex for the average person. The battle is far from over, but it's clear that the fundamental question of who gets to fix your stuff is now a mainstream ethical and political issue. That's all for this episode. Next time on the Ethical Tech Explainer, we'll investigate a controversial use of AI in law enforcement and ask, can an algorithm predict crime fairly?